Yeah, but it's the wrong thing. How do I tell people? I don't know where to put the message in YouTube. Are you over there somewhere? Yeah, I figured out how to do it, but I can't tell them to go to a different stream. I don't know how to do that. Did you find my new stream? Hello, can you hear me? Sorry about this. YouTube changed something. Changed to have a streaming channel with software. I wanted just the default, but they made that. I apologize. Never can get this perfect. Sorry. All right. I hope everybody's doing okay. Glad to have you with us. Let's see if I can put a little light on here so I can get a little better. I was struggling to try to get this dang thing out of that mode. So let me do this and this. There. All right, everybody. Good to see you. I'm trying to get it just right so we get the good light and not be bugged by the lamp on the back. So I kind of block it out a little bit. All righty, welcome everyone. Sorry about the last minute switchola to the new stream, but I guess YouTube keeps evolving. Wouldn't you know? Even someone like me gets caught up with other software, right? Because I'm not playing with it very often. Just a second, I got to do one thing here. And then we'll get going. All righty. Thank you very much for being here with us. Who we got out there? Let's see. We got Holbrook, Arizona. All right. And Layton, Idaho, and Hawaii. Well, welcome, welcome. Or is that a high? I guess that's a high. Just as good. All righty. Thanks for being here. This second. Okay. These headsets are nice headset. They noise canceling and the microphone works really well. But the problem is if it doesn't have any sound going into the headset, it shuts off. And so I have to put some music through my headset, interestingly enough. Otherwise, in 15 minutes, it'll figure I took it off and forgot to turn it off. Thank you, Jarrett, for helping get the message out. Where did you send that? How did you do that? All righty.
If you know of anyone who is out there that would normally watch Ron that has not found this stream, please feel free to share it. Share the link. Hopefully everyone can join us right away.
Yeah, we could probably go to YouTube or to Facebook. Okay, put it out there. Thanks. All righty. St. George, Utah. Okay, now does everybody know about RootsTech Connect? Yeah, hey, St. George. It's probably pretty nice down there. It's not quite as cold as it's been here, although today it got up decently. Everybody know about Family Search Connect. In February, we're going to have all virtual for RootsTech. We're still going to have a lot of the same kind of functions. We'll be able to, like we'll be able to do relatives at RootsTech, for instance. We'll just do that through the computer and show it on a page, as opposed to and on your mobile app if you want to do it that way. It's going to be tons of classes, and the classes we're going to hang around for a while because they're going to be recorded. All of them are going to be recorded, and then you'll be able to play them later and show others and have them play it for them. So, yeah, that's true. Over 100,000 have signed up already, and something like over 100 countries or something. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we get our things translated or whatever in other countries. And we're scrambling to get this all put together. So part of my team's involved with building the stuff so that we can do this, and some other teams too, just to make sure that we can get it all done. So it's a really interesting time to try to get everything going, and we only have a few months left. How are they coming with the expanded relatives around me capability? Not sure what you mean by expanded. So let me know what do you mean by expanded, Warren? I mean, there's going to be too much data for when you have 100,000 people or more signing up, and if they have some significant trees, then it gets hard to deal with all that data. So, all I'm saying about we'll still do relatives around me. We'll just do it on the computer. So we're having everybody has to sign in with their Family Search account, I believe. And by doing that, we know who you are in Family Tree. And then we can look at each of the attendees that have signed up for it using FamilySearch.org. And from that, we can figure out your relationship with other attendees. So that's how we're going to do that. It's the same thing we do when people walk in the building. It's just when you walk in the building, you're doing it on your phone and you say, yes, hook me in to the relatives around me. And we use your identity from the mobile phone because you logged into the Family Tree app. So it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, we're going to use a browser. So we'll have a browser window that shows you who you're related to. We probably won't be able to show everyone because there's if you have lots of people registering and they're all connected in the same tree, you get lots of people, and that's just too much data to even show you. It's kind of cool though to see all the relatives you'll have. It's unclear to me whether we'll even be able to tell you all the ones that you're related to, but we're going to try to do the best we can, and we'll get better at it as we do more of these kind of events. I suspect since we're going to try, since we're doing this, it might be interesting. We'll have to see how long this lasts. Not the COVID stuff, but we may end up in the future doing, still some virtual things now and then. What are the latest stats? Is Family Search getting high numbers of new or repeat users and new names being added to the tree? Tom Kemp. I don't have write up available to me right exactly now. I'd have to go dig it around, look for it. But actually, there are more people being contributed to Family Tree since it was probably about March, April when it started. We're actually contributing more people every week to Family Tree than we've ever had before. So before we were doing around 6 to 7 million people month adding to Family Tree, and now it's running well over 10 million a month. So it's gone way up, and I suspect that's because some more people have more time to devote to family history, and that's great. It's just wonderful. Indexing mobile app, we're still working on it. I don't think we've released it yet, but I think it's going to be nice. We have some prototypes going. But but it'll be doing that. I think it's going to be a good app. I'm interested in it. All right. Well, let's go look at one of. Let's start. People did submit some questions, so let me go over here. And I gotta go log in. I lost my browser when I was running around trying to figure out what's going on with the YouTube. So let me get that going again. All right, and there were several questions submitted, not a ton, but we'll work on some of those too, and then I'll get back to looking at what is what's coming up in the chat. So if you got questions, be sure and add them to the chat, and we'll go look at those too. But some people submitted some questions, and so we're going to go take a look at them, and I'll switch back and forth like I usually do. Okay. So first one, Larry said, when attaching a source with more detailed data than exists on the record, i.e. birth date, month, and year, when the record only has the year, how can the more complete data be added at the same time the source is attached? There was, I got to go double check on this. I'm going to put a little note because it should be allowing you to do some of that. And what we're allowing you to do is, I believe that when you do this in the source linker, it'll allow you to edit. You can say edit, and you can edit the conclusion that is being pushed over there and add that other information. So any of you others have experienced that? Have you seen that? So so you should be able to edit when you're attaching a source and it has data on it and it has little data. You can actually edit that data and add it to it by hand because it's already there. We don't just dump it right in because it's not empty. So I believe that works, but I'll put a note here to go double check on source linker and editing conclusion for more data. Okay, I think we do that already. Let's see. Then Liberty said, Liberty said in October 22, I said you can change the gender now and be changed on a person in the tree to be able to merge two people. Is this true if ordinances work has already been done for one or both of the genders? If so, how does it deal with ordinances? So what happens is if you have a person and they're one's a male, there's a duplicate, one says male and one says female, and let's say the ordinances are done on both of those persons. The one that's a male shows male ordinances, and one that's female has female ordinances you're seeing. So you change let's say the female and the male, they're the same person. It's got the same name, the same dates, and it's in the same family. And you know that was just an error, or it's stuff that happened in the way past where before the structure, then people would, in the back of the way past, they would do both a male and a female version just for safety's sake to make sure it gets done right for whatever gender that person is. And well, what you do, let's say you go to the female one, let's say for example, and you change, and it doesn't matter if you go to female or the male, you just change it to the other sex. So you change it from a female to a male. Then what will happen on that one is the female ordinances will disappear because they're no longer effective or relevant for that person. They were done in the temple, that's okay, but it was unnecessarily done. So they will disappear from that person. Then you merge the two together, and because they're both male, that will work. Or if you change the other one, they're both female, and that would work. And then only the ordinances that match that person, meaning since they're both male, then it'll show the male ordinances. If somehow in the future that person who had been merged before turns back into a female, then the female ordinances will show. So we don't want to duplicate ordinances and we don't want you to create a separate person and leave that one there so that there's the conflict of two people that's the same person but different sex. We want you to correct it and merge them together, and we're taking care of the ordinances to show the right ones. If, for instance, that female one didn't have any ordinances, you change it to a male. Well, let's say the male one was a female, should have been a female, and you flip it to female and you merge, and neither one of them had female ordinances, then it would tell you that the ordinances are available to be reserved. And then you could reserve them, go do those female ordinances for that person, and it would show up on that combined PID after you merged. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, let's go over here, out here in the front, see what's going on here on the chat. Any thoughts about adding GPS coordinates of a grave site and family tree in the timeline under burial? We've talked about that. You know, a lot of people wouldn't have those things. We would have this cemetery, of course, but we could have the cemetery place as a GPS location. And by the way, the family tree app, if you say map my ancestors, will actually point out where your ancestors were born or died, and they can pinpoint a cemetery if you have a burial entry, and it might help for you to plan out plans as you're traveling around. And you could look at your app and see that, oh, there's something just a few miles away that from where you are on the mobile app. But I don't know if we, you know, I know that Find a Grave, I think, and several of those billion graves, they do GPS coordinates for a grave site. But I don't know if we get that data. We'll have to see if we get that data. It might be interesting. But okay. Yeah, so okay. So some of it can be edited. Let's see, Michael, many of my PDF files and memories won't show a thumbnail when I upload a PDF. I optimize in Adobe Acrobat to make the file size small enough. I sent you an email about it. Yeah, I got to go look on that. I don't think we have any thumbnail for a PDF file, a graphic thumbnail for a PDF file. And I do remember your email, and I think I sent it off to that team, but I can't remember if they gave me an answer back. So let me write that down. PDF files, no thumbnail on PDF. And we don't, I mean, we take the pictures out of the PDF, we have them reviewed, and then, but they're in the PDF, but we don't pull one out to try to pin something in as a thumbnail for it. So, you know, I'll ask them what they're thinking about on that area. We're getting green temple icons on our family search for people on our trees who have had their work reserved and shared with a temple by another person. Not sure what the reason is for this. Okay, let me just get a sip here on my water. Okay, let me tell you how the temple stuff has changed recently. It's been, I don't know, several months, but you may not have been back on and noticed earlier. So what we decided we needed to do is we needed to show what people asked for when we gave people ordinances ready, and ordinances ready was the only way for people to sort of take names off of the temple list that you're related to, and so that you can go do that temple work. So others who are walking around the tree, they don't necessarily want to push ordinances ready. They want to be able to take a name that they find in the tree that has been shared with the temple and reserve it right away, right then. You know what Ordinances Ready does is when you click it, it looks the closest relatives to you, and that's the one it gives to you first. And so it takes time for it to get way back. But some people may be moving along their family lines, and and want to take a name to the temple that has been shared already by somebody else. And before, you couldn't get that name, you couldn't get that reservation. You had to contact a person, ask them to maybe share it with you or something. So we decided that all the names that are shared with the temple and all the ordinances that are shared with the temple should show up in Family Tree as green temple icons. Now, they're different temple icons. The standard green one means it's a 2-year kind of reservation. No one's reserved it or shared it with the temple. The ones that have been shared with the temple have a different icon. It's the temple icon with a little stopwatch in the corner. That helps you as a user know, hey, the ones with the stopwatch that are green temples sitting on my ancestor in the tree, I can just click them and reserve them. They'll come on my reservation list. And those ones that have been shared at the temple, you'll have 90 days to get those temple ordinances done. If you don't get them done in 90 days, then they'll fall off your temple list and go back onto the person. So that's the purpose of that. So people didn't have to push ordinance ready to get temple ones. They want to be able to find those opportunities in the tree. So so that's why that's done that way. Michael says, also many stories were unlinked from my ancestors a couple of weeks ago by an account called Auto Family Search Memories or something like that. Well, what was the bug reversed yet? Okay, so what that was, I don't believe they removed any memories because Michael, tell me whether you still have all your memories there or not. I don't think they removed any memories, but what had happened in the past, because of some changes in the software, we ended up with multiple links to the same memory. So we ended up attaching the memory multiple times. And so there'd be like 5 links or 3 links to the same memory. And we only want one, so that doesn't eat data, doesn't take up space, it doesn't do all that sort of stuff. It's inefficient for us to continually having to see all the links and see which ones are duplicates. So they went through with this artifact thing, which was their standard sort of database fixer-upper, and they went around and removed all the excess links that were duplicates, and that's how it showed up. We should have made it so that that wouldn't necessarily show up because it didn't do anything to you that you would have to worry about, but they went ahead and did it that way. Okay? So if it did remove a lot of your stories, I want to know about it. So Michael, send me an email at ron@familysearch.org, or tell me if those stories are all there. If they're already there back, then they fixed their problem. So otherwise, send me something to ron@familysearch.org with the PID and maybe a couple of URLs to some of the stories or whatever that got removed, and then we're going to go find out why that would happen. Okay. Sorry. I'm getting dry from talking already, and I haven't talked that much. Alrighty, Betty, you asked a question. Are there different access levels for those record sets that have restricted access, the key icon? And I could access the record images, but my friend couldn't. I have a member account, and she does not. Okay, so whenever we get access to records, especially ones that aren't, public, meaning like the government supplies, they give those to anybody. But those that aren't, we have to sign record deals and agreements. And oftentimes, Family Search will offer, for instance, to scan all the images and preserve them and then index them maybe. We make all sorts of arrangements with other owners of records to allow us to show those records to people on Family Search. In some cases, they say, no, you can't show them to anybody on Family Search, but you can show them at a family history center. Okay, that's one kind of restriction that we may have from the partner who owns the records. They may say, you can show it at your family history centers, but not on the website. Okay, that's one. There's also another kind of restriction that some record owners have done on us, and that is you can only show them to members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You can't show them to anybody else. Well, in this particular case, based on what you're telling me in your question there, you must have been looking at a record set that only had licensed to show to a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, the rule is, I will tell you this, is if you find the source and you attach it to a person in the tree, then at that point, that record should be visible to anybody in the tree, both member and public users. So that's the arrangement we have, so that if that gets attached, everybody has to be able to see it, because if you can't see all the data, all the conclusions, all the reasons, and all the sources, then there's going to be conflict between people because they're seeing different things. It's really important that they see the same thing. So that should be true. If you attach the source to somebody and it was a member only right, anybody else in the tree should be able to see it after that. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to the other one and answer one of those questions, and then I'll come back. Okay. There was a question that somebody put in that said, we are counseled to attach all of the records hints that we receive. Okay, and then she gave me an example of a person. This person's within 110. All of the temple work has been done. I can see that one of his family members attached a source from him back in 2018. I can read the obituary and add many other living relatives and so forth. Where would you think I should spend my time? And I think that's somewhat up to you. You need to decide where you feel most comfortable working, in the close living or in the further out. Sometimes it takes more greater understanding of record sets and different countries if you go further out. But so I think that if your implication in your question, this was Irene, is that you want to spend your time doing that other, and that's perfectly fine. There are plenty of records and names and people that we need to put in the tree that we're not going to run out of names to put in the tree. So I think that you should do what you feel. Sometimes you may feel you need to put some more information on a closer relative, and other times you may feel that you need to go up the tree and down, or just continue to grow the tree or look for people. Now, I will tell you that oftentimes when people have had trees in Family Search or in the prior products before, they kind of felt like, well, we're all done. And that is not true. You're never done, because sometimes people put stuff in there and they put it in maybe in, I don't know, the 1970s. They gave stuff to the church and we put that stuff in Family Tree. Well, in the 1970s, there's probably been a bunch of people in that line that have died since 1970. They may have been older, and several have died between 1970 and 2020, and they need to now be put into the tree. So there is value in grooming close by to see if any of the people that maybe were in the 1940 or the 1930, the 1920 censuses back, may be deceased now, or maybe they died by, other problems, car accident, things like that. So there is value to kind of groom closer, and then of course we always need to go out further. So there is access level differences, Betty, in those records. I don't know when the mobile indexing app is going to be available. I know they're working on it, but let me just see. I don't know if they've announced any kind of date or anything like that. And it may do different things than you think. We had a first pass at the mobile app indexing app long ago where they showed you the record, a little line of the record, and that was a struggle for many people because sometimes you have to look at many names to be able to see how the penmanship of the person was writing to be able to understand their letters. So we're looking at all different kinds of things. There's lots of things that involve indexing that are interesting things to have people help us with. For instance, maybe it would be nice to have somebody say, this thing right here is a date. This thing right here is a name. This thing is a place. And by helping us know that that's a date and that's a place and that's a name, it helps us understand where we can send people to index that, or we can do some analysis on those things to find more, gather that information up better or faster. So, we're trying all different things that would help all the different aspects of indexing to help us be more effective and more accurate. Has the pandemic affected your priorities at Family Search? If so, how? Yeah, well, I don't know. It seems like the pandemic has caused everyone to feel an urgency to do more. So we're working harder and faster than we ever have before. It's very interesting. We're a computer. The teams that are involved in my side of the world are all computer software developers, right? And you can do that at home. And a lot of them enjoy doing it at home because they're not going to get interrupted. They go hide in a room somewhere. They and keep it quiet, or however they like to work, and they find themselves getting more things done. So we're actually been going faster than we've been in the past, interestingly enough. And also it's allowed us to it's allowed those my level and above to have more opportunities to talk about big leaps in family history, big leaps of what things could we do to really grow this and provide more information. I mean, we've recently released maybe 20, probably 15 or so new languages. We're getting more and more records than we've had before. We're translating like crazy and opening up Family Search in many other countries. Like Thai was one we did not too long ago. You'll see that there's lots more languages to choose from. We're redesigning the site in some areas, and all of it actually. We're redesigning pieces of it that we've noticed aren't as efficient or as intuitive as it should be, and we're always going to have to be working on that, of course. Let's see. Michael says, last year at RootsTech, one of the staff said they like to have something ready for an open beta, at least, I think, for RootsTech 2021. Well, I don't know what thing they're working on, but they want. Everybody likes to have stuff to show off, to get interest, right? Okay. Pamela, I get notices of some temple work are orange that say this person doesn't exist or are restricted. Contact Family Search. These are not famous or pioneers, so I'm puzzled why. Any ideas? I'd have to know a particular PID to help you with that. But orange, if I recall, usually they'll say on the temple side what's wrong with it, what's missing. So if you have a PID, you can just put your PID in there and we'll go look real quick. Let me go sign in the Family Search here. And So orange is cannot request. That is usually associated with a couple of things. One is we have agreements with the Jewish Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust people, that only direct descendants can do that kind of work. The cannot proceed could also be that there are invalid characters in the name, such as maybe I think the quotes maybe go through, but things like invisible characters or emojis or something like that can also cause that. Could be that the person has some invalid things like birth after death kind of thing. So you should be able to see what it is. If it doesn't show what it is, just says contact. You said it said contact. This person doesn't exist or restricted contact family search. So it probably has something to do with either probably Jewish Holocaust or famous or infamous or something like that. You need to. You can send me an email. And if you give me a PID, by the way, I'll go look and see what it is and reply back to you. Is there any indication of when the library and the centers will be reopening? No, we keep hoping to be able to do it soon, but but we can't do it yet. I mean, we still, at least in Utah, I don't know if they're going to consider opening them in other places first, but certainly in Utah, we're gone back to the orange, and so it's like you can't have any groups bigger than like 10 or something like that, or 15, something like that. And they're not going to put anybody at risk by having the centers and the libraries open. So we don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen. Is there any indication of when? No, I don't know. Even though the library is closed, all records are still being digitized at the same speed as they were pre-pandemic, or has the pandemic slowed that? No, I believe that up in the vault, we're still taking rolls of film, and they're still generating more rolls or generating digital images, and we're still processing that. We're actually doing more processing now than we were before. Pamela says, don't have one at the moment, but I always check the dates, and they are all okay. No Jewish in my tree. So Pamela, take a look a little later, and if you find one, then send it to me. I'll go look at it. Yeah, I wouldn't think the centers would reopen if the library's closed. I think they're doing them all with the same restrictions. I know that they're working on the library to put in more books out and do things like that, but I think they're taking this time to do that, and they're being very cautious of how many people are working on that, so they don't cause anybody to have a COVID problem. Okay, here's another one. This is from Jordy. Jordy says, is there a way or going to be a way to reassign individuals to a different family on the census, specifically the 1930 U.S. Census? I have seen several times where individuals are part of the wrong family, or the family is split up because to the rest of the family being on the next page of the census. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen that way. They're supposed to be together, and that was probably a problem with our wayfinding, our stuff that tries to chop that into pieces and get it right. If you want to send me an email with that particular image and those particular family names, I could send that over to the records folks and have them take a look at that and see if they can correct it. I also know that we're going back in the past and doing some corrections and adjustments to other collections. So I'll bring up some of the issues in the 1930, you said. So I'll tell them 1930 has some split families. where rest of family on next page, but not together on index. Okay. If you can give me a name or something, that would be helpful, or page, something like that. All right, TJ asks, when you have a non-member in living status that has died, what is the process to report her to be deceased? So the best way to do that is to well, you can just add, well, I don't know if they're part of your tree or not part of your tree. If you're part of your tree, just mark them deceased in your private world and it'll pop up into the tree and attach the death certificate. If you can get a hold of a death certificate or obituary, something like that. If it's an account, they had an account and you believe that account should not be usable because it should only be used by the creator of that account, then you probably need to contact support and somehow have some evidence that that person has passed, and then we'll take it from there. So depends on what the things you're thinking about there. Okay, Jordy said, when will the new image viewer be used for the catalog? The new image viewer is used to search images, and the older image viewer is used to search the catalog, waypoints, and specific image collections. I don't know the plan there. I'll have to go ask that one. Okay. Image viewer, image search for catalog, records. I'll go ask. Yeah, that's a good question. That'd be a good thing. I could see that being very helpful. And the last question I have is Carolyn. It says, how can I get a reminder when you are going to have a live session? Yes, well, I'm sort of schizophrenic right now. I set my announcements over on Facebook under Family History Ron as the person. And that's because I was primarily doing Facebook Lives. And then we started having trouble with audio problems with Facebook Live and streaming problems. And so I jumped over here to YouTube. And I like Facebook because that has a good place for you to enter in your questions and all that kind of stuff. So what I tell people to do is go to Facebook, go to Family History Ron, and like the page. If you like the page, I think it causes you to see when I schedule an event, it tells you that that event is been scheduled. And then I put a link into the YouTube video and the YouTube link. You can click on that link and you'd be sent over to YouTube and you'd be watching me here. Yeah, today there was a mix-up because YouTube changed their default to require streaming software, which I don't have. I just wanted to do webcam, but they made the streaming software as the default rather than a webcam. So I've got to be more careful when I create my YouTube live events to make sure I'm choosing the right thing. So that's what happened today. Sorry. But thanks to my son, Jared, he went off and fixed the Facebook to let so everyone knew that the event is really there, so you could get here. And I'll be more careful next time because this is just new. Happened this the first time. Okay. Let me scroll up here and see where I am on the questions here in the live chat. Will reverse indexing at BYU, is the reverse indexing at BYU helping family search in any way? You have to let me know, Judith, what you mean by reverse indexing. Reverse indexing. Now, let me know what you mean by that. So give us a comment on there. I don't know if I've had the term reverse indexing told to me, so that might be a different team that's working on it. But I am familiar with what they're doing over there, so let me know what it is you're talking about, and then I can visit about it. What's new coming up in Family Search? Oh, everybody wants to know that. What am I going to have to tell you at RootsTech if I tell everything now? Oh, let me think if there's something coming up here. Oh, by the way, something that came out just recently that you guys need to know about. On your watch list, your lists that you have, there's a new feature where you can put a tag on a person on your watch list. Okay. That tag is like a memory tag. Okay. Except it's more. It's not a memory tag. It's a separate thing, but it acts like it. And you can put any label, add a label, excuse me. You can add a label to a person um, on your list, and that label, you can put a label like 110 or something like that, which means these are 100. You're waiting for them to get past 110 or something, or you need to find a death certificate or something like that. And you can also put on an optional note that's like 5,000 characters or something like that, so you can remember why you have put a label on that person and what is it you want to do. So I think that's gone out. Oh, let me go look. I think it's out, if I remember right. Let me just go check real quick over there. I think I played with it a little bit, but it might have been in our beta, but let me go look. I'll go family tree, and I'm going to jump over to following, and I'm going to click on a person, and okay, let's see here. All right, maybe it's not out yet. Maybe I slipped up and told you too soon. All right. All right, well, it's coming. I thought it was shipped. I got to go look again. Anybody out there know if that's shipped? Have you found that? Yeah, let me go just double check since I said it was out. Now I got to go verify when it's going to ship or shipped. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see here. Oh, yeah, I guess it's not out yet. Okay, there's you go. There's your free tip on what's coming. I think it's going to be really useful, actually. In your list, you can put in a label, and then you can, I think they're planning on doing like filter by label or something, and then you can drill in and see your note that you left. So I think it's going to be really great. All right. If the family is split between census records, changing to the parents and then siblings will usually solve it. Oh, yeah, yeah. But they're saying it's because it's two different records, so they'd have to go do another, only pull a couple of kids from the record. So there's a little mix there. This might be outside of your shop. Is there any word on when the holdings of Chinese, India, and other records, plus African, etc., all voice histories will be added to searchable family search and suggestions in the tree? We are working to collect Chinese Japus. I'm not sure about the Indian. I'm assuming, are you talking about Native American there? Or are you talking about from India? African, we have been collecting oral genealogies, and some of them are already in genealogies that you could look at. And we do have a desire to take information that we consider a valuable record source, not necessarily older GenCom files or something, but something that's kind of been verified, and provide those as potential information to show to people in Family Search. So those are some of the things we're thinking about. I think it's valuable, But there are some African oral histories already in genealogies that you could search for. Yeah, Bill, if the deceased was a member, contact support. Yeah, but we know when a member dies because the clerk has to mark them deceased. Sometimes the clerks are a little slow doing that. We have one that was like 10 years old and the person been dead for 10 years and they never marked it. So we contacted that on behalf of the relative. We got a hold of the relative and told them they need to go talk to that. We ended up talking to the clerk to tell them to take care of it. Puerto Rico has a lot of split families in 1910, easy to spot since household has only one person who's listed as son. Oh, Joe, yeah, okay, thanks. And Joe, are we not, yeah, it's not showing up as a thing. So that's good to know about the Puerto Rico. So I'm gonna make a note of that as Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico also has issues. Okay. Heather, this is H. McPhee. What is the reasoning behind the suggested reason statements options for reasons for merge within the merging process? Well, what we found out is that most people don't enter anything when they do a merge, and that's really uncomfortable. And so we looked back at other reasons that people had put in to merges, which we thought were valuable, like the names and PIDs of the people that are being merged, for example. Or so we took some of the most common things that people put in and we just made shortcuts out of them, was all it is. And we did that in order to encourage people to put something into the merge that would be helpful for those who come along later. That was the purpose of that. And by the way, they've been fairly popular, and people are even talking about, well, can we do this kind of stuff in other places? And we have to be careful not to do it all over the place because we want meaningful. There are times when you need to do much more than that into the reason statement. So we're looking at that, but we're trying to be careful. But this was one area where we saw most of the time nobody were entering anything. And then when we interview them and talk to them, they say, well, it's obviously a duplicate, so why would I just say it's a duplicate? So I think we even put that one in there as a choice. So that's why we did it, so we could get something. Let's see, Judith, Google it, and there's a way to do 12 names at the same time. Okay. Okay, Delta Mano. I have a friend that is retired from the U.S. Embassy and has gathered hundreds of thousands of records. Would anyone be interested? Well, you can contact Family Search. See, how's the best way to do that? If you want to send me an email with some information about what it is he has, I can forward that to the right person to see if this is something that we can consider taking or absorbing or whatever. I think we have to be careful on licensing and things like that potentially, but if not, then we have done that before where we collect records that people have extracted on their own or done stuff like that. So if you want to send me an email, Ron, R-O-N, at familysearch.org. In the 35 years he worked on the U.S. State Department, he gathered records in his free time. This is a lot in Pakistan, DRC, Congo. Who should he talk to? Just have him send me an email, and then I'll find out who the person is he should talk to and let him know if that was okay. Or you can send me his email either way, and I'll get that forwarded. I'll have to ask around a little bit. It's also helpful to have both PIDs saved in the. Yeah, I really love that we put an auto one for like put the PIDs in, because that's really helpful to help you detangle things if the merge was something that was not desired. Alrighty, let's see how much time we got. 5 more minutes, 4 more minutes. Alrighty, let's see. Once again, I want to talk to those who are joining this a little late that be sure and get your account on RootsTech Connect stuff. We're going to be all virtual this next year in February. They're they're going to try to have classes that are more engaging and more informative and not so long sometimes. Try to give you the information you need in a good way that's understandable and not taking you all day to figure out. Also, the plan, I think, is that these videos will be around for some time so that you could go back and look at them again. Maybe, I don't know how the sharing is going to work. They're kind of still working on that kind of stuff. So, maybe you could share it potentially, I don't know, or maybe you just play it for somebody else. I don't know how that works. And if you know other people that might be interested, sure, invite them, because we're not limiting. It's free. And it's true. One person mentioned in here, we have well over 100,000 people that have already signed up in 100 and some odd countries. No, yeah, send me an email to ron@familysearch.org. That's the one I look at every day, all day. And so I'm most likely to respond quicker there. If you send it to familysearchron@gmail.com, you can also do that. I look at my Gmails usually once a day. But the other one, I'm looking at it, all day long, because that's what I'm doing in between meetings or at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for those who submitted questions. Please, if you have questions between now and our next our next live, then just don't save them for the chat. Go into Facebook and enter it into the form, and I answer those questions. So it also allows me to kind of peek a little bit to make sure that I have some of the answers. I don't always get a chance to do that. Today's been a rough one, so I only had a few minutes to take a look at them. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for your support, and let me know if this is not being useful to you. And if I need to talk about other kinds of things, you let me know. You can send, you can send me an email, ron@familysearch.org, if you wish, and ask additional questions or questions that you don't feel comfortable having me reading out loud or having to post inside of the chat. And I'll be glad to answer them for you. So I want everybody to have a good evening. And by the way, do you think that trick-or-treaters are going to show up on Halloween? What do you think? Just asking. I don't know. I kind of wasn't going to buy any candy because I wasn't sure if they're going to want to show up, and then I ended up breaking down and buying a big bag of candy, and so I'm thinking I'm going to use. I got one of those grabber things, when your back is sore and you can't reach it on the floor. I thought I'd use one of those grabber things and grab it out of the bowl and drop it in the bags, so that we're social distancing, and I'll have my mask on. So I suspect they're going to show up. It's supposed to be a good evening in Utah. It's supposed to be a nice weather, like 60s and high 50s during that time when they're going to show up. So yeah, drive by would be nice. Drive by and chuck it in their car, kind of thing. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's canceled in your county. Man, I haven't heard of any place that's canceled it, but that's interesting. Yeah, grab bags and go. That's another thing. And a full moon. That's right. This is our blue moon. I was learning about that on the news the other night. It's the blue moon happens in October, and it doesn't happen that often. Like 79 years between incidents of the blue moon, and it's basically 2 full moons in October. So we've already had one, and the second one is supposed to occur on Halloween. Isn't that great? So we get good light or better light, so we can pay attention to those kids as they're running around. I haven't scheduled my next live, so go over to Facebook. I'll do it over there. I'll sit down and relax tonight, think about and look at my calendar for November and look at when I can get them in. It's Thanksgiving time, and I got to make sure that I have plans for that and figure out when's the times to do Facebook Live. So thank you very much, and have a very good Halloween, and enjoy your evening and your family. Thank you very much. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.